It's really hard for me to not table flip. And no, it is not good at all. Live chat's there. So I'm gonna give a little bit for people to start popping in. But in other news, I don't think my well, in other news, I'm not sure if my deck has been approved yet. But I'll go take a look and see. Hopefully it is now. But the thing that I'm going to be talking about, I'll also show like a flip of it for my once I get to it. It's something that, to be frank, should not be happening. And if anybody thinks this is a just thing to do this, no, it's not just to do it. No, my deck's still not approved yet. Figures. But anyway, so let me show what I'm talking about. Now, for context, this is actually a sacred space to the Hindi goddess Kali. And so that way you know these shrines take a long time to properly bless, put together, and maintain. And they have to be done a certain way, at a certain time, a certain date. So these aren't easy to do, just to keep that in mind. So, 3 days ago, this is what happened to a shrine of Kali. I'll have the sound on too, so that way you can just hear the absolute distress coming from the person who made this. Let's see, can you see? Oh, I'm too bright. Hold on. Darker. And I can't look at it anymore because it's going to get me infuriated. But essentially, that biblical verse, Exodus 20, verse number 3, was written on the front, both sides, and the back of the building. And the inside of it completely vandalized. For whatever reason, the person who did it thought it was a good idea. But remember what I just said before I showed you. These aren't easy to, dedicate. They are dedicated at a certain time in a certain way, and they're difficult to do, and they go by the tradition. So doing this, the whole shrine has to be reestablished again. It has to. The whole space needs to be cleansed, has to be purified, and rebuilt from the ground up again. Something so pathetically stupid as, doing this. Something so pathetic now has to have the whole building, the whole area, and the whole space be built again from the ground up, metaphorically speaking. Not like the whole building has to be knocked down, but the energy has to be reset, and the whole shrine has to be rebuilt inwardly. It also, of course, on the outside, be washed again. For what? What did the person who did this gain? What did they gain? Other than having an internal sense of guilt of like, because now a lot of people see this. And the person who did it, oh, I bet you, if they get found out who they are, they're not going to be liking their life. I'm just saying. Because, oh, and also, so that way you know what the verse says from Exodus. Thou shalt not have any gods before me. Okay. One thing though. If somebody wants to be a smarty pants and actually do crap like this. So, Exodus 20, verse 3, huh? No gods before you, huh? Joke's on you, it doesn't say goddesses. Kali's a goddess. Sorry. It doesn't say that. It doesn't say no goddesses before me, so deal with it. Mm-mm. I'm just saying, going by what the book says. And even then, the Old Testament, you don't use the Old Testament nowadays, but only as a reference point to understand how it was previously back in times before now. And that was why the New Testament came in to annul all that. But this should not even happen anymore in today's society or world. Because why? Just why? What makes it a good idea to go into another person's or faith's or divine sacred space or shrine and think it's a good idea to start vandalizing it, disgracing it, and pretty much slapping that divine in the face? For what? What are you gaining out of it? Other than showing that, wow, you're a savage. You're so sick in the head to the point that you really do have some kind of not clicking right in the head to think it's okay to go in and vandalize a sacred space to a being that, I hate to tell you this, is much older than Yahweh. She is. And point blank, Yahweh couldn't even stand a second against her. Because in the Vedic texts, Kali could not be stopped with her bloodshed and just completely ravaging and ripping everything to shreds. She could not be stopped. The only way that she did stop was when Lord Shiva laid on the ground, and while she was spitting and beheading and kept throwing blood all over the place, she put her foot on Lord Shiva's body, and he was playing dead. The minute her foot touched him, she stopped and looked down, and then she had the thought that, oh, I just killed him. What have I done? And she stopped. That was the only way she stopped. Because she was believed that she had killed Shiva. Other than that, Kali could not be stopped. So most definitely, Kali can most definitely stand against Yahweh and just flash. And I mean, to be completely honest, the viewpoint of religious faith, and even to justify doing this, that's not good enough. If your faith demands that you have to go to other people's sacred spaces that they built for their divine figures or spiritual figures, if your faith demands that you go to theirs and completely deface it and disrespect it and vandalize it, honey bear, you're not practicing a faith. You're a cult. You're a cult. And if you want to be more technical, let's see, what's it called? I think that would be, what's that called? What is that word I'm looking for? I believe that would be something like, oh, I don't know. Oh. Well, just like how the Crusades did it. You're pretty much invading another culture of faith, and you're attacking it because, well, it's not the same as ours, so we have the right to say it, well, because our God told us to. Really now? If your God told you to jump off a cliff with there's spikes down at the bottom, are you really going to do that? Use your head. And just because he says it's okay, use your head. Just because a being says it's okay to do it, should you still do it? Should you still go to somebody else's space that has been worked to build the way it is? Do you think it's okay to go in there and just completely ruin it? No. And this is not even regarding anything about faith or your religious standing. If you think it's okay to go into somebody else's space and destroy it, that's not good. Breaking and entering with motive of robbery, that gets hit by default. 2, property damage. 3, don't light anything on fire because now you have arson. And the thing is, the person who endured this, because it was her shrine, now she's also living in fear. because she may not know that the person or individuals who did this might come after her. All because of her having Goddess Kali as her divine figure she looks to. That's pathetic. That's pathetic. That's just how it is. It's pathetic. Because come on now, how long has this hissy fitting back and forth going on about faith? How long has this been going on in mankind? Tell me. Well, here, too much, too long. Enough's enough. You don't like it? God forbid there was some other divine being and not mine. Oh God, I can't take it. Get over it. Sheesh. That's probably even more pathetic than I can't even think of anything as pathetic as that. So what? They're practicing their faith and devotion to a divine being. That's not yours. Oh well, deal with it. It bothers you? Hey, it's not their problem. You're the one with the problem. Point blank, you're the one with the problem. And no, people that practice the faith that they're practicing, they don't need saving. They're perfectly fine. You need saving if you're thinking this is justified to do that. Point blank. You don't have to like it, and I could care less if you don't like it or not. That's not the point. Because this act of terror, because it is, it's unacceptable. And no religious book, no religious faith, and nothing can justify the actions done. Nothing. There's no justification in it. But we're trying to spread the word and make him more known throughout the land. That's not good enough. Sorry. Nope, not good enough. Nope. And again, like what I said about Exodus 23, the part of like saying the new command, like the old 10 commandments. If you want to be technical, 10 commandments. You can't reference them or use them. How could you say that? It's part of the Old Testament. The Old Testament's only there for historical reference. They're in the Old Testament. Get them out of here. And to be even more of a nitpick, because that's just how I am. Oh, no other gods? Well, guess what? Kali's a goddess. She's not a god. She's a goddess. So, bypassed. Hey, that's how it's written. No idols? She's not an idol. She's a goddess figure. And if you want to be even more technical, no idols, huh? Okay, take all the saints, get them out of here. They're being idolized. If you really want to go overkill, take Yeshua, get him out of here. He's being used as an idol. He's not the pure Yahweh, so get him out of here. If one can't stay, and none of them can stay. No offense, butts, or tushies, that's how it is. One doesn't get a free pass and say it's okay, while another, just as an equal, doesn't get the pass. It's either it stays or it gets out. No favoritism, and nobody gets like a special treatment. It's either they are being used as an idol, which all the saints in Yeshua are, or they don't. There's no in between. And what's even funnier, before someone tries to throw, because I'm not looking at the chat, because I want to get this over and done with. The thing is, I also have an unorganized belief system, meaning that I don't have a guideline or a book to go by, because I don't need one, because it's going to serve me no purpose. Because I acknowledge all spiritual beings, all spiritual paths, all religious paths. I acknowledge them all, and they all do exist. Even the ones I don't even know about yet, they exist. And who am I to say that they don't exist if I've never encountered it? Somebody else has, so it does exist. Have I seen them? Have I seen them? Probably not, but that doesn't invalidate them. That's going at a whole new level. And the joys about learning Vedic astrology, which I have 4 certifications in, by the way, is that in order to do Vedic astrology, you also have to understand the faith of Hinduism and learn about Lord Shiva, Lord Brahm, and Lord Vishnu. and even also goddess Kali in the nakshatra of Mula in Sagittarius, right before it goes from Scorpio to Sagittarius, all the way up until almost the midpoint of Sagittarius. Mula, yeah, that little section is actually associated with Kali, and even at that, I actually have my Rahu at 0 degrees of that placement. 0 degrees Sagittarius, right on top of it, right where it starts for her. So yeah, you can even see that I'm even more not really happy about this. Look at the chat. Just give me a second. Hello, Rowena. 6%. Yeah. Only monotheism does that. Yeah. Yeah. Hi, Kayla. But still, either way, you can even also believe in like one being, but still have the common sense and using your head to not think that, oh, this person doesn't believe the same as I do, so I'm just going to destroy it. No. In fact, why not instead, if you don't understand something, why not just go and say, so tell me about your divine being. I'm curious. I don't understand, but I want to understand. That's actually using the energy of Sagittarius correctly. Exchanging your philosophical viewpoints and your higher intelligence and religious practice, exchanging the viewpoints of each other, so you both gain from it. That's how it's supposed to be done. You have your religious viewpoint, somebody else has theirs. You both don't understand the either one, but you both come together and you exchange and you learn and you both go up. Because you both gain when you try to have understanding of another's faith system. You both gain from it. But when you have someone acting like a barbaric savage, go in and completely decimate a sacred shrine, nobody wins. And just like how we all know how Saturn works, oh, ho, 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 I got a new golf ball. Except it's going to be a lot worse if it's Kali. Much worse. And I mean, this is going to sound a little bit like, might sound a bit like about gasping towards those of the Abrahamic, but I mean, I'm just going to say it because that's how it is. I'm not surprised that India outlawed the Abrahamics. I'm not surprised. Something like this. I'm glad they did. Because India, thank goodness, luckily, Hinduism and their religious practices, being the oldest standing still, older than biblical and Abrahamic, much older. Thank goodness they're still standing and being practiced. Thank goodness. They're the only one that the Abrahamics could not do a thing to. Thank goodness. And they're never going to. And they best they don't. But ultimately, yeah, I'm still livid. When I first saw it, I mean, I was just about to literally screech. Think, oh, who's the dumbass who did this? Because I would sure hate to be him or them. And thank goodness I'm not close by. Because they probably want to be able to walk afterwards. And I'm just somebody who because when you have invested in something, specifically also invested in a culture and learning and understanding and taking something really sacred from them and learning it and then putting it into practice, which in this case is Jyotish. When you have that culture being swung at And because of that culture, you have your way of feeding yourself and providing some kind of income for you to keep the roof over your head. When the culture gets swung at, for me, I can't help but get like overkill agitated and like I'm really trying to bite my tongue because I don't want this thing to get demonetized, but still. When you swing at a culture that has a belief system that has been practiced longer than any of the Abrahamics, you don't swing at it. You don't swing at it. In fact, you don't swing at any of them. If you don't like it, walk away from it. Don't even pay any attention to it. Just leave it alone. But if you can't resist that urge, let us know and we'll tie you to a tree. And then we'll just start slapping it out of you until you get the urge out of you. Heck, if you have the urge to, have something get smacked, it could be you instead. This is actually a point where I'm like, no nonsense. And if this was to happen, like say anywhere else, I still would be agitated. Like if this was to happen to an American native totem pole or anything like that, oh, I would be livid. And also their sacred ground, somebody defaced it or disrespected it, oh, I'd still be livid. Thinking like, really? What makes you think it's okay to go onto their sacred land and think that it's okay to walk on it? Because tribal land and that's for a certain tribe, you don't step on it unless if you're part of the tribe. You don't step on it. You go anywhere near it, you don't. At all. You don't. Common sense, come on now. But some people want to be in the next Jackass movie for whatever reason. Like, come on, please. Why? Whoever came up with the idea or the trend to see how dumb you can make yourself be in front of the world, whoever started it, I wish they never were born. So that way, this stuff wouldn't keep happening. Like tonight on World's Dumbest Twitheads. Mm, mm. But anyway, so I really hope that the victim and also the shrine does get the needed care that it needs and have everything replaced and the proper ceremonies be put into practice to make that space sacred again, because that has to be done. And whomever did it, I hope they get found and they suffer the consequences for it. I think probably the best consequence is to have them build another shrine for Kali by themselves. They can build it from. They can build the building. They can paint it. They can be forced to decorate it exactly how it should be done per vastu. And they can even make the statue for Kali along with the paintings. And they don't get a choice. They destroy it, they can make it. And they don't get a choice. If they have the urge to break it and destroy it, they can rebuild it. I'm just saying. Oh, and before I even started the live, there was some twathead who commented on saying, "Who cares about a shrine to a false god?